lovely people, and welcome to the series Murdered While Pregnant Phenomenon. Disclaimer, my videos are for entertainment and educational purposes only. Fair Use Act disclaimer, copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by the copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. No copyright is intended, all rights reserved. Please note that I am merely bringing the attention to this matter and hope that those involved seek professional help from local or national professionals. Murdered while pregnant is a phenomenon that I discovered while in nursing school in the late 80s. Nearly 30 years later, this is still happening to pregnant women. Sadly, it will continue to happen as long as there is violence against women. If a woman has already been abused, the chances of that abuse continuing while pregnant is quite high. Join me in this series and share with others so that we keep the communication open in hopes of someday ending this tragic phenomenon. Thank you. Hello, lovely people, and welcome back to the series of Murdered While Pregnant. I will be highlighting LaTonya Clayton Green in this series. Now, she's a young lady who married a monster, and she was 6 months pregnant and killed on July the 14th, 1991. This was a beautiful young lady who had her whole life ahead of her, and she must not have known that this guy had some major issues. She reportedly told her friend that she was going to leave him or had been planning on leaving him. She also had 2 other children. This is the beautiful young lady. Now, what he did to her was he stabbed her in the face and the chest. And then what he did was he called the police, and he sat out on the front porch to wait for the police to come and arrest him. Initially, his attorneys was going to have him use the insanity plea, but they thought better and they didn't do that. He served 16 years in prison, and he was supposed to serve up to 25, but he served 16 years in prison. You have to wonder what kind of person would kill someone who's carrying their baby. Keep in mind, though, that homicide is the second leading cause of death in pregnant women. Therefore, murdered while pregnant phenomenon is so important to keep at the forefront of our community so that we can prevent this. If you can remember, the first article that was listed in the first presentation of this series, Murdered While Pregnant Phenomenon, they listed homicide as the second leading cause of death in pregnant women. One of the subscribers had mentioned that women were murdered who thought they were pregnant just from telling the man who did not want the child that they were pregnant. They were also murdered, and later it was discovered in autopsy that they were not pregnant. Hopefully, as a community, we can spread this information so that women and their babies can be protected. This gentleman, Gordon Livingston, said the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. Let me repeat that. Past behavior is the best predictor of future behavior. So after murdering LaTonya and his unborn baby, 6-month-old baby, Gregory got 16 years, to which he came up before parole and was denied 4 times. And they denied his parole because he did not show any remorse for the murders. And now During this time, he had contact with Fred Harris, a pastor in Detroit, and he wrote to the Michigan Parole Board in August of 2005 saying that Green was a member of his church and he felt that he had paid his dues, unfortunate lack for his lack of self-control and the damage that he had caused. And of course, his family had been writing in and saying leniency and second chances and all that. And so the parole board felt that, they denied him 4 times, so there was a reason for that. But he eventually got released in 2008, and what ends up happening is he married Pastor Harris's daughter, Faith Harris. She already had two children from prior marriage, and she had 2 children with him. Now, if you look at him and look at her, they look like they are a happy couple. But on the outside, you never know what's going on the outside, and person can be just torn up in the inside. So what he did to her, she was having trouble with him. She ended up leaving. She came back. She tried to get a restraining order. She filed for divorce in 2013. And eventually she was back in the house with him. And on September the 21st, 2016, she was bound with duct tape and zip ties and put in the basement of her home. And he shot her 2 children. He cut her on the face, shot her in the foot. And this was done with a box cutter. The cutting was done with a box cutter. He killed her 2 teenage children in front of her by shooting them in the head. And the 2 younger children, he had put them in the car and let the exhaust kill them. They were 5 and 4-year-old, and the other 2 older children were 19 and 17. This guy had to have, you would think he had something going on, just evil. But everybody or people should be given a second chance, but it has to be on a case-by-case basis. And you really have to be careful. Just because you're going to give somebody a second chance, that doesn't mean during that second chance you have to make them your husband, or if it's a lady, you have to make your wife. But definitely you don't have to make that person your husband. You can forgive people and give them a chance, but you have to watch them and see their behavior. And apparently he started exhibiting some of the prior behaviors because LaTonya was telling her friends that he was changing. There were some problems. And you got to remember, hurt people. And it was a horrible scene because the officers on the scene had a hard time dealing with what they saw from what he had done. And the funeral is really sad. You see these 4 children who were innocent. But as adults, we have to be prepared and actually stay in a protective mode for our kids. Now, Faith Harris Green, she stood in court. Here's she is. You can see that long scar on her face. This man did this on purpose for her to suffer for the rest of her life, killing her kids in front of her, cutting her face, shooting her in the foot. And everybody knows about getting shot in the foot and having that foot injury. When it rains or get cold, you're going to feel the pain. And so he meant to inflict this long-lasting suffering pain on her. Who hates somebody that much? What did this woman do besides giving him a chance to ruin her life, actually? So now he's in prison. He's going to get out or have a chance to be out when he gets 97 years old. This is totally ridiculous. We have to do better as a community. We have to put our children first. Gregory Green fits the classic case of what Gordon Livingston quote is: past behavior is the most reliable predictor of future behavior. This is the National Domestic Violence Hotline, and it also has the website. Hopefully it helps give some direction to anyone who may be in an abusive situation. Sadly, there are more videos to come in regards to this murder while pregnant phenomenon. So like, share, and subscribe to stay in the loop for the next video. Thank you.